Welcome again to the Autosportradio.com 2021 show. We are coming to you from the Grand King Race Shops. We haven't been thrown out yet, strangely enough. We want to thank Bill and Stephanie Throckmorton for allowing us to come in and use their facility. Today's show is presented by Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, NTT IndyCar Series, SBRA, McGilvery's Pub and Eatery and Speedway, and VP Insurance. A couple of things. Everybody can't hardly wait to get to a dentist. Well, I got the place you want to go and you'll like going to, actually. The Indy Dental Group, Dr. Jack Miller, Indy 500 veteran, and his wife, Dr. Liz Lewis, have a phenomenal practice. And if you need dental work, I highly, highly recommend, because that's where we go, and my honey Sharon goes there and she loves it. And she doesn't like dentists. Give them a call if you need an appointment. Best place to go, 317-846-6125. Are you looking for something for somebody's birthday or some surprise present connected with the IndyCar Series and the Indianapolis 500? Well, I got the place to go, the 500shop.com. It's the 500shop.com. They have anything you could possibly want. And if they don't have it, I'll bet you they'll find it. If you're interested, check them out. The 500shop.com. Mike Spangle has everything you need. You got computer problems? I have a lifetime of computer problems. We have the A+ affordable computer doctor. The doctor is Steve Freeze. He can help you with most anything. If need be, you'll make a house call. Give him a call, tell him your problem, see what he can do for you. The number is 317-328-0766. Paul Page has a book coming out in May, but you can pre-order, so you'll have it on hand when May opens up. And I know Paul will have some pens in his pocket to sign them. It's called Hello, I'm Paul Page. It's race day in Indianapolis, and you can pre-order it. I'm Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So get an order, get your book in hand, and you can get after them. I had last week the author of The Legend of the First Super Speedway, The Battle for the Soul of American Auto Racing. A great book, and you can pre-order that at almost anywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, get it at Target, Walmart. Get yourself a copy, you'll love it. And if you haven't subscribed to the Classic Racing Times, I recommend you do. This week's cover story is the story of Rob Dyson, who is now the chairman of the board of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. He's got a long history in racing, winning, team owner, driver. Interesting story. If you get a chance, subscribe to classicracingtimes.com and subscribe to it. It's a great newsletter that comes out, I think, every month or every 2 months. Have you ever wondered why these guys and gals like driving open wheel Indy cars? Well, I can tell you how to find out. You go to the Indy Racing Experience, take a ride in a two-seater. Go to indyracingexperience.com and you can find a date that'll work for you around the country. And in the promo box, put DK1, you get a 50% discount, or you can call the office and talk to Shonda. Number is 317-243-7171. Is it time yet to check out insurance on your home, your car, or your commercial property? The Commissioner of Indiana Insurance suggests you check it every so often. I highly recommend Mike Pardee at VP Insurance. Most of our people have gone there and said, wow, get better coverage for less money. Give them a call, tell them what you need, and that could help you. The number is 317-248-0070, and VP Insurance is located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. Give them a call, 317-248-0070. And it's getting to the time of the year you might want to take a guided tour of some race shops. You can take 6 to 8 people, and Bill and Stephanie Throckmorton have just the vehicle you need to make the tour. You go to their shop and you visit a couple other shops, and then you come on back. So they'll pick you up wherever they pick you up, they'll drop you off at the same place. So give them a call if you want to find out about it. The number is 317-820-3595. And if you have a vintage car and need it restored, or you would like to get one, the Grand King Shop's the place to go. They could help you either have one and fix it, or they could help you buy one. Just give them a call, 317-820-3595. Tell them what you're looking for, and I guarantee you they'll help you. Now, my guest today is a young man that I have followed him and watched him, and you'll find out he's done extremely, extremely well. He is talking to us today from Idaho, of all places, but that's strange enough where he lives. And my guest is somebody I haven't talked to, but we just bonded before the program started. Please welcome Ray Robb. How are things in Idaho today? You going skiing?
No, sadly, the snow is melting away here, so we're gonna have a few more trips hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But racing season's approaching, so that's gonna take up most of my time.
Um, how did you come up with the name? How did your parents come up with the name Sting Ray Robb? Now, I did see a little bit about it that your family is originally from Scotland. I think it's Stirlingshire or something like that, and they changed it to Sting. How did your name come
Yeah.
about?
So short story is my parents were big Corvette fans, and my dad has a 1966 Stingray Corvette sitting in the garage at home. So they decided to pass that blood on to me, the desire to race cars, and name me after the Stingray Corvette. But as you said, the long story is both my grandpa's names had Ray in them. And so we took that along with my dad's side of the family. His heritage is from Stirlingshire, Scotland. And so we shortened Sterling to Sting and then combined that with my grandpa's names and got Sting Ray.
Well, I'll tell you what, I bet it draws a lot of attention. I know when I first saw it, I thought, oh, I got to follow this young man. What do your friends call you, Sting or Ray? Or
I have so many nicknames. Usually it's Stingray, but I've got Speed Bump, Stick Shift, Swordfish, whatever it takes. I'll answer just about anything, just as long as I know it's me.
How, were you born into wanting to drive race cars with your family's interest in cars?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I took my first steps at a Corvette club meeting. So that should show you that I've been around cars for most of my life. My dad was a pretty big drag racer here locally, and he used that 66 Stingray Corvette to go down the quarter mile pretty quickly. And they did a little bit of autocross events, and I don't think that they ever really intended for me to become a professional race car driver. They thought it was just a phase I was going through. You know, some kids like to be a fireman when they're growing up, or a police officer or mailman. And I was a race car driver, and that phase has not wavered since. So unfortunately for them, they've spent all their time and dollars trying to get me to that top level of IndyCar.
Well, you came to the Road to Indy program in 2017. You drove for World Speed Motorsports. You did 12 races for them. You had 4 top 5s. And in 2018, you worked for Dale Pelfrey at Team Pelfrey. You did 16 races. You had 4 top 5s. And in 2019, you joined Juncos Racing, and you had 11 top 5s. And in 2020, last year, you had 14 top 5s, 7 wins, 11 poles, and you won the Pro 2000 Championship.
Yeah.
That is that the reason you're moving up? You got the scholarship. Now you're going with Juncos Racing in 2021 and going to the Indy Lights.
Yeah. So back to 2019, we made a decision to stay for the 2020 season. I had a few good races there at the end of 19, and we did all right in the championship, but we could see that there was probably going to be more to gain in the Indy Pro 2000 series before moving up to Lights. And then last year, you know, with COVID hitting and everything, it worked out fairly well because the Indy Light season was canceled. So all those drivers didn't have anywhere else to go. So they either dropped down to Indy Pro 2000 or went to sports cars somewhere. And so it worked out well for me to have that already planned out and be in the Indy Pro 2000 series. And as you said, we won the championship there, got the scholarships. I'll be moving to Lights this year.
Who's your sponsor?
Well, that's a good question. So I don't actually have sponsors. I have partners and investors. And Peter Rossi is my manager, and he's the father of Alexander Rossi. So for the 2021 season, sorry, I keep forgetting that it's 2021. I keep thinking it's 2020. It seems like it's been such a long year. But for the 2021 season, we're bringing a few new investors and partners on board. So Katie Capital is one of the main ones. Road to Indy is a huge one, obviously, with the scholarship. Firehouse and Good Heart Animal Hospitals. Those guys are actually pretty awesome. They're family now, you know, part of the SR2 family, but their last name is actually Robb. And so it's kind of funny to find out that they wanted to be a partner and have their name on the side of the car with us.
Obviously, I know the answer to the question, I think, but I'll ask you anyway. What's your goal at the end of this year? If you do well, will you look to move up, or will you do what I think was a smart thing? You spent 3 years in the Pro 2000 to learn the cars and learn, you know, how they work. And now you're going to move up to a little more powerful car, a little more downforce, I'm sure. But what's your goal? Are you looking to end up at 16th in Georgetown before you hit the age of drinking 21?
Yeah, I think that would be a good goal for me. Winning the championship in Indy Pro this last year, I'll be getting to have a test in an Indy car at the end of this season. So I think that'll give us a good calibration of where I'll be, a good understanding of where I'll be in preparation for the IndyCar series. And like you said, it really comes down to how well I do this season in Indy Lights. So we'll see. The season's coming around the corner, and I'm excited to get going.
Have you got any test sessions set up?
Yeah, so I had my first test in the Indy Lights car back in December, and we did Homestead and Sebring, and that was pretty amazing. Getting to drive that car in both those places for the first time. It's definitely a unique experience stepping up to the next ladder. But coming up, we have a test at Barber, and then we have the opening race just before the middle of April there at Barber as well in Alabama.
Right, they'll be there, I think the 18th. What's been your favorite track so far? Every driver usually has one that just fits their style. Which one works for you?
I like the ones I do well at.
Well, that's a good
No.
answer.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so many great racetracks on the road to Indy that it's kind of hard to pick just one that stands out. You have Laguna Seca with all the different elevation changes, and the track's just got so much history behind it with the corkscrew. And I think it's on every driver's bucket list to go and drive there. So if I had to pick one as my favorite, I'd probably say that. But I always love going to Mid Ohio, always love going to Road America. And Indianapolis, of course. You feel like you're walking on hallowed ground there.
What was your experience prior to coming to the Road to Indy program?
So I got my start in go-karts at the age of 5, and I worked my way up through the different karting ladders. I ended up back in, I think it was 2015. I won 3 different championships in the US and earned a Team USA position on the karting Team USA to go to Portugal. And after that event, we decided to kind of try and make the transition to cars. And so 2016, I was driving part-time for the CRG karting company out of Italy. And so I was doing a lot of European racing over there in karting, as well as getting my feet wet in the car industry, which I drove everything from dirt cars to NASCAR to Formula cars to Corvettes. I just wanted to drive everything that I could. That way I knew that I was in this series that I wanted to be in.
Does the speed bother you? Obviously, it can't. Do you prefer street road courses as opposed to ovals, where you look in your mirror and there's a guy right there? And
yeah,
good.
The ovals are definitely a different experience. Sorry, say that again.
I say it's got to get your attention when you're doing an oval and you're starting into the cars of Pro 2000, certainly Indy Lights. Cars are whizzing along at a pretty good clip, and you look in your mirror and there's somebody right there.
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience. And in the past, I haven't really enjoyed the ovals. But Gateway this last year, we ended up finishing 4th, but that was the most fun I think that I've had during a race. Just trying to learn a new different driving style, because it requires so much more racecraft on an oval, if that makes sense. It's not so much that you're having to brake later and all that. It's you're managing the air of the cars in front of you and behind you. So it's just a different thought process that goes into it. And so I think that once I got a handle on it, it made it a lot more enjoyable.
It's kind of funny. I've talked to a number of drivers. I used to work for a race team back probably before you were born. And the drivers would come in. Have you ever run an oval? No. Are you worried yet? Well, yeah, I've never done it. But once they've done it and got the feel of it, they love it. And it's kind of strange that some of these guys have come from Europe and South America, where they drove street and road courses, and they really enjoy the short tracks like Iowa, which is no longer on the schedule, and Richmond, which was, but it's not back again for some reason. They like the short oval. So I assume that with your talent and what I see you've accomplished quickly, you'll fall into line. You'll get it, and I think you probably will enjoy it.
Yeah.
How much different was the Indy Lights car to the Pro 2000?
It's obviously faster, better braking, better downforce, bigger tires, a little heavier. But I always like to make the relation between go-karts. You have a single speed go-kart and a shifter multi-gear go-kart. And the driving style between the two, I'd like to relate to the Indy Pro 2000, which would be a single speed, versus the Indy Lights car, which would be the gearbox kart. And the reason for that is just the car likes different things at certain points in the corner. And so it's nice to have a team like Juncos that understands that already, and they can kind of coach that into me a little bit quicker. But I think that I adapted to the car fairly easily. And I think the Indy Pro car is a phenomenal car, but the Indy Lights car is a true race car.
It's interesting the number of guys that I've seen go out. I sometimes go out when there's somebody taking their rookie tour around the speedway. And going 220 miles an hour, getting a little, or 210 maybe, getting a little nervous. You know, the car doesn't handle it. And the driver coach will lean in the car and say, step on the gas. The faster you go, the better the downforce. Really? Yeah. And when they figure that out, then everything changes. Suddenly you can drive the car. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And I actually had a little bit of that at our first test in December. In the Indy Lights car, they're like, Stinger, you got to roll more speed. I'm like, well, the car's moving. Like, well, it's going to move. Got to move it and go faster. So I did that, and it actually turned out all right. We survived.
Yeah. It's got to be interesting. Most of the drivers in fact, all the drivers I've talked to have always enjoyed driving for Ricardo, because he doesn't usually miss too much. If you need it to go fast, and he's got enough trophies to prove that what he does works, because there's trophies all over the place. When he opened his building, I went there the night that he opened it, the grand opening. I said, you better get another trophy case. He said, why? At the rate you're going, you're going to need more room for more trophies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Ricardo is amazing. And that's part of the reason why we decided to go with him again this year. You know, we feel like part of the family now, and they've taught me a lot, and I'm hoping that I can keep them at that top level.
Do you have the same crew that you had in the 2000, or have you got a different crew now?
We got a different crew now. Our engineer for this year is going to be Tim Neff, and he's got a lot of experience in the Indy Lights category. So I'm excited to be working with him. I know that he's a good name to have in your pits in the paddock area.
Yeah, he is good. He's got a lot of experience and will help you. Are you, with your karting experience, you got to be able to feel the car, because in a kart, they tell me, you know, I've asked novice question, how do you feel the kart know if you can make any adjustments? I said, you feel it by the seat of your pants. You can feel it. And the guys that have come through the karting have that same reaction when they get into, you know, the USF 2000 or the Pro 2000 or Indy Lights for that matter. You can feel what the car is doing, and you have the knowledge, you know, to get with the engineer and get what you need for you to go faster.
Yeah, no, I think that the karting played a big role into my success in the car. Obviously, it's a completely different driving style than what you would want to use in a car. You know, if you turn your hands as quickly in a car as you do in a go-kart, you're probably going to end up in a wall somewhere. But definitely the go-karts teach you a lot of the racecraft that you need. Dynamics of a race car are completely different. And I think that was my biggest thing to learn, because when I was driving a go-kart, I was young enough that I didn't really think about what I was doing. I just kind of did it, and it was fast and it worked out well. Whereas in the car, you're kind of you have to process a lot more of what's going on, take in the data and adapt accordingly. So I had to pay a lot more attention to what my hands were doing and what my feet were doing in order to cause something or how to prevent something. And like you said, you know, you have times when you're on track where, oh, the rear end's moving around. Well, just step on the gas. It'll fix itself. So there's definitely a few tricks of the trade that I've learned through the last couple of years working with Juncos.
You know, it's kind of fun to think about where you might go. Are your partners willing to be able to move up with you as you move up?
I think the ideal situation would be yes. But I think that for them, they're investment opportunities right now. And so when I get further down the road, we'll have other companies step into those positions and get me through each season accordingly. We do have a few companies already in the works for the upcoming year. Hopefully it'll be an IndyCar, maybe it'll be an Indy Lights. We'll see how everything goes. But having Peter Rossi on our side has been a big benefit, just because it teaches us a lot about what's required in the industry for those companies, that what they're looking for and what I should be looking for in a company, and how we can both benefit from a partnership.
Are you called upon to do any speaking for any of your partners if they have, you know, a trade show or some kind of get together sales meeting? Do they bring you in?
I haven't been yet. You know, a lot of the companies that have jumped on board have not been completely motorsports oriented. Obviously with Firehouse and Goodhart Animal Hospitals. I can't really talk about a veterinary clinic all that well. I'm a much better race car driver than I am an animal doctor. So, yeah.
And what the interesting thing is, the connection between running a business, it doesn't matter what it is, and teamwork in a team, a race team. It's, they cross each other. If you're successful at one, it'll work in business as well. In fact, a friend of mine has made a career out of doing that, giving talks to companies and connecting teamwork in motorsports and teamwork in your company and your business. So I suspect, judging from listening to you now, you will be able to handle that with ease. Does it bother you to talk in front of 2,000 people?
I've always said that I'm a much better race car driver than I am speaker, and I'd be way more comfortable driving 200 miles an hour than I would be speaking to 2,000 people. But obviously, with experience comes comfort, and so the further down the road I get, the more comfortable I get to speaking with people. But I had our year-end banquet speech at the end of this last season, and that was the biggest group that I've spoken to in a while, at the year-end banquet for RTI. And that was pretty comfortable, except for the fact that I was bawling my eyes out because the year just kind of was reflecting back on us. And I thought it was the best experience ever to stand up on the podium and tell everyone my story and where I got my start this last season and how it was amazing to finish on top.
Well, it's even the fact that there were very few fans at most of the events, some at some of the events, but for the most part, not the crowd that's normally there, and hopefully will be there this year, slowly but sure. I see St. Petersburg has now said that they will allow fans. They didn't say 75% or 50. They said their fans will be there. So that's a good way to start. And I'm sure that Barber will as well, because there's very few grandstands there, as you're aware, I'm sure. There's a lot of the hillsides around the track, and there's some great viewing at that. That's a spectacular, I think, never having driven it, but having been there the first 4 or 5 years I ran there, it's really a fabulous place to run, I think.
Yeah, no, it's definitely unique. There's a lot of different corners to it that make it stand out amongst the rest.
And it's interesting that Mr. Barber built the track to run his motorcycles on, and now he's got Indy cars running on it. And when they first got there, he said, "That's too narrow, can't race." Oh yeah? They've had some phenomenal races there, and I'm sure you, being a road racer, enjoy that place. It's got to be a good place to run.
Yeah, no, it is a little bit narrow, and it can get a little dicey in a few of the sections, but I guess that's what makes it interesting.
Everything is interesting. What do your friends back home say about your career? You're here in the wintertime to go shushing down this hill, and then in the summertime when it's nice, you're gone.
Yeah, I don't know what they think. I think a lot of them have just been along for the journey with me, and so they just feel like it's a natural progression. Definitely when I first introduce myself to someone, like if I'm meeting a girl for the first time, I'm like, "Hi, my name's Ray Robb. I'm a professional race car driver." They think I'm lying straight to their face. I'm like, no, that's my real story. Like doesn't get much more fictional than that, but it's true. So it's kind of funny to introduce myself to new people and tell them what I'm doing, and they're like, "You're from Idaho, really? Of all the places in the world to be from, you're living in Idaho driving race cars." Like, yeah. I think that God has a plan for me, and that's why I am where I am.
Is racing big out in Idaho when you're in town?
No.
Does the media follow you? Do they do interviews and radio sports talk shows and so forth?
More recently, I've been getting some more local news exposure. The local newspapers always had something in the articles during the year on my racing, but the motorsport industry back here in Idaho is very small, and it's growing, but it's very small, and there's no car tracks anywhere close to here besides Portland and maybe Salt Lake, the old Miller Motorsports Park down there. But now we have a new go-kart track here locally that I'm getting to actually driver coach at, which is going to hopefully grow the motorsport industry a little bit more. So it's definitely a learning process for people when I tell them I'm a race car driver here back home, because they don't know anything about it. They think that, okay, he probably races out at the local quarter-mile track on the modified cars. Well, I did that at one point, but now it's a little bit further down the road. So having to explain to them where I'm at and where I'm going is a little bit different than what they'd expect.
Well, I think as you progress, now you're into the Indy Lights, it's a little more exposure. If I'm not mistaken, the Freedom 100 is off the schedule again this year, I think, is it, or is it not?
No, it is off the schedule. Our only oval this year will be at Gateway. So we'll see how that goes. And I know they're trying to get us back there at some point, but I think right now their focus is to get us on the road courses and street courses, which is exciting. You know, getting to go to Detroit for the first time will be definitely a good experience.
Well, I think it's a shame that the Freedom 100 isn't run, because that was, without a doubt, the last 4 or 5 years, probably the greatest race anywhere in the world. I mean, it was won by hundreds of or thousands of a second, actually. Some guy, Peter Dempsey, who was back in USF 2000 as a car owner,
Yep,
won the race. And he was fourth coming out of 4, and he won the race. I mean, there's been some spectacular racing, and fans are the ones I've talked to, and I get emails from, you got to be kidding. They're not running. That was one of the best ones going. We came in just to see that thing early.
yeah.
That's too bad. But you will run the road course.
Yeah. We got the road course coming up in May, I think it is. And that's always the highlight of the season, I think, getting to go back to the Speedway and just seeing the cars on track there.
Well, I hope that as you progress along, Idaho wakes up and says, oh, we got a professional race driver from here. And if you make the 500 at some point in time in the next couple of years, you can say you'll be the first one from the state of Idaho to ever qualify for the Indianapolis 500. I don't know.
Well, I think Davey Hamilton was another guy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He's from Idaho. I forgot about that.
But I'll be one of 2, which is still
Well,
a feat in itself.
Heck yeah, it'd be great. Are your parents a little nervous as you move up the ladder going faster in cars? Is that
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, my mom's always trackside with me, and my dad is as well, but he's always been, much more comfortable, I think, with the speed. But my mom and grandparents are always got their paper bags out to keep themselves from hyperventilating. But they're going to get used to it, I hope, at some point or another.
Well, it's great that you've got the support, which is huge. I think, most successful young drivers, or any sport actually, that has their parental backing and support, makes it easier to move forward. And I am looking forward to seeing you doing well this year. From time to time, since I've had Ricardo on my show a number of times, I know him, so he lets me come and stick my nose in and see what's going on. So you might see me pop in at some point and say hello. But we wish you nothing but the best. Looking forward to seeing you move up and see how well you do. And I have a feeling, from what I see, you've progressed every year since you got here. There's no reason to think you won't when you get started this year.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on your show.
It was a pleasure talking to you. And next time I see you, maybe the best we can do is bump elbows, but I'll stop and say hello personally.
That sounds good to me.
Good luck to you this year, and we'll be following you, I can assure you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
My guest has been Ray Robb, talking to us from Idaho. We have some more programming upcoming days and the week, so we'll be back again. But until then, I want to say thanks for being here, viewing it. Until the next time, Don K. saying see you next time.